Last week, Robin Schaefer got off to a flying start in the new BMW M2 Cup Thursday Championship. That was at Suzuka last week. We are back here today. We're at Bathurst, and as you can see, it is currently pouring with rain. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Thursday Championship. My name's Tim Peck. I'm joined today by Miguel Martins and Christian Schuckers on the broadcasting tour. And I've got to say, Miguel, there's one track I would not want to see rain on, and it is Bathurst. So for these people that are about to be driving around it, I feel very, very sorry for them.
Oh yeah, this will be a tough race for them. Even though it's only 2 sprints, a 20-minute race 1 and a 40-minute race 2, they will feel like 2-hour races to them.
Yeah,
but it should provide some good content, some good fun racing.
Yeah, I'd say the hardest part, I think, is going to be the qualifying, assuming it does still rain to qualifying. Races, I think, by then, if it's been raining through the practice and the quali, I think at that point they might start to break into it a little bit, maybe get a bit of a run going. I mean, we saw this last week as well. It wasn't raining, but everyone was very uncomfortable, it looked, in qualifying. There was a lot of sliding around the track, which was then later on in the race ironed out, and that's when you saw, by race 2, there was a lot of pace coming out. So I imagine it's just going to be a continuation of that, where throughout race 1 they're starting to learn the car a bit more, and then race 2 I think is where we're going to see a lot more of the fighting and the action happen.
Yeah, and we should not forget that qualifying sets both the grid for race 1 and race 2. So, you know, these drivers, they've had the chance of practicing. So we'll see if they've nailed down qualifying. It will matter for both races.
That's true. Qualifying, of course, 10 minutes long. That is your position for race 1 and race 2, as well, as you just said. And that's why qualifying really, really matters, because if you mess up quali, you start at the back. That's both races you have to try and climb through. So I think a lot of people here are going to hope that qualifying goes well. Of course, last week we saw a lot of overtakes on lap 1. Those of you that were there right from the beginning will remember race 1 actually had to be restarted because of a very big incident that occurred during the first couple of corners, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that again today. Honestly, if we go into it, we might see a bit of an accident. This is actually on your screen right now, a photo of what's happened in practice so far. This is Tom Bryant. He's had a crash with, I can't remember who this was now. Martin Lawrence is the other car in this incident, and well, if this is an insight on things to come, I'm sure these two are going to be driving a lot more carefully once the race comes around.
Yes, it definitely will. This was a very, very nasty crash, and it's a testament to, or it could be a prediction to what will happen in the race. The mountain is very tight, very narrow. Hopefully, it will be clean.
Yeah, it's a very difficult track to navigate, both in the wet and the dry. I know every time I come to this track, when I'm going down that mountain, I'm always nervous. There is never a part of me that feels comfortable going down the mountain, but I'm sure a lot of the people here today have been focusing on that as the main target to just get right, because of course, if you go wrong in the mountain, that's it. That's where you're going to pick up a lot of damage, and it could be game over for you and several other people as well. So it's all a game of consistency here today, Miguel. It's just how long can you stay on the track and how little damage can you pick up. And I think that's what it's going to boil down to here, is just the consistency.
Yeah, it will. And, well, something that I've noticed with these cars is that they seem to soak up damage. You know, you have little taps on the wall, that damage will accumulate, but it doesn't affect the performance of the car. That could be a saving grace, you know, to the nature of this track and the weather. Well, we'll just have to see, as we will move into qualifying in just a couple of moments.
And we'll see who will come out on top. Of course, we will be showing you the standings just after we've watched the qualifying. But to give you a little bit of a spoiler, Robin Schaefer has got a comfortable point lead right now. So the goal here for Schaefer is just get as high up as possible in qualifying and really extend that points gap. I'm sure they will be looking to push that further. I mean, those top 4 drivers, though, Miguel, they've been the stars of the show so far. Lawrence, Heilman, Schaefer, and Machushka, who currently has got the fastest time. Those are the 4 names that have constantly been in that top 4, fighting for that podium. So it would not surprise me if that's just how today's going to go. And we're going to watch these 4 battle it out, because out of all of the people that have picked up this BMW Cup car, they seem the most comfortable here.
Yeah, they do. Even though this is a spec series, everyone uses the same car, different setups, of course. Um, these four drivers, they're so close. It's like they're driving an entirely different car to the rest of the field. You just have to look at the times, and it's very, very close between Wolf Matuszka and Martin Lawrence.
Yeah, they've currently only got 100th of a second between them. This is, of course, the practice, but Lawrence will be looking to try and get the better end of the stick going into the qualifying session. They'll want to start ahead of Matuszka, of course. Matuszka last week had a very, very good race one, climbed up the field and was looking very confident on that podium position in the third place, but come to the end of the race, had actually miscalculated the fuel that they needed and ended up having to crawl across the line, taking them all the way down to last. So Matuszka's aim today, I think, is just going to be make sure you get to the end of the race. And I think that's something else that's been playing on my mind is you need to make sure you're getting everything right about the setup. Of course, these cars, they only came out, 2 months ago? So making sure you get that set up right, making sure you know what the fuel limit you need is, that is going to be a big key as well today. So Wolf Matuszka will be hoping to finish race one here.
Yeah, and I'm predicting that Wolf Matuszka, he will not do that mistake again of underfueling the car and just stopping before the line. That was so costly, but well, in this series with 5 races, you need every point you can get with this tight of a field. So we'll see.
You really do need every point you can get because it all adds up at the end. I mean, we've seen, I think it was only last season actually, where we had a similar point system, albeit it was the GT4 cars, but a similar point system, and it came down to the last race where someone won by 3 points at the end of it, and it was all because the race before, the person that lost the position actually just ended up pulling into the pits. They then forfeited their points because they didn't finish the race, and that was the difference between them winning the championship and losing. So I think a lot of these cars, if you have an accident today, my personal advice is just make sure you finish the race. Even if you pit and you spend the rest of the time driving around in dead last, finish the race, get those points that you'll get. I think it's top 15 will get the points here. As Bart Marta goes for a little spin there, manages to hold it going down the downhill section, but luckily this is just the outlap in qualifying, so that's not going to matter too much. But Bart looking very skiddy in the wet weather here. But yeah, as I was saying, finish the race, top 15 get points. If you can just manage to finish that top 15, 1 point could be the difference between winning the championship and losing.
Oh yeah, it definitely could. I remember for the last season of Night Owl, I was participating, and it came down to the final race. I was in second, and between first and second, we were separated by, I believe it was 2 or 3 points, and that just made all the difference at the end of that race. It was just enough for me to get second place and Theo Martin get first.
Someone who's looked very, very confident today. Well, I'm going to take that back instantly, but someone who's looked fairly confident today in terms of pace is Tom Bryant. I've been watching them in the practice, and when they get the lap done, absolutely amazing pace. That being said, I've also watched them crash 3 times, and none of them have been pretty. All of them have resulted in at least 3 wheels off of the track. So Tom Bryant is going to hope that they can sort of clean up this consistency. We're going to watch them now as they start their fast lap in qualifying. Of course, you get 10 minutes of qualifying. These cars are taking, almost 2 minutes to a lap. I think it's about 1:41 the times that they're setting. So you don't have a lot of time. What I'm trying to say is you don't have a lot of time to get a good lap in. You're getting 5 good laps at best. And, well, you're going to hope to set it quite quickly because, as you can see here, it's raining and it's going to get wetter as qualifying goes on.
Yeah, it will. Maybe track conditions will improve a little bit. We have 37 cars driving around, clearing the water. Maybe that will have an effect, but with this much rain, I don't think it will. But again, as you said, it's all about consistency, even during qualifying. You just need to set one quick lap, but with the laps of about 2 minutes 30 seconds, you'll not have a lot of laps in these 10 minutes.
Oh, we're
Oh
currently running
no,
aboard a Tom. It looks like he's actually just lost it there coming down into the first part of the downhill section, of course. He's got a long way to go. He's going to get through this really tight chicane area now. We'll see if he can manage to hold together there, but that is not going to help the lap time. And as you were saying, it's all about consistency, and there goes Tom.
there he
He's lost it.
goes.
He's blocking the track, and now everyone else has got to avoid him.
What a shame. Tommy seemed like he was on a good lap there, but well, he's had to return to pits, and now he's only got 5 minutes. He's only got half of the session to set up a quick lap. It will be a challenge, not an easy one.
Well, he's got to do another outlap as well. So by the time he's finished that, it's going to be what, 4 minutes after qualifying. So definitely not ideal to spin out there. The other problem is everyone that was caught immediately behind that, maybe even some of the people behind him as well, will all be slightly held up, just making sure they slow down enough to avoid Tom. Because although he wasn't right in the middle of the racing line there, I mean, I don't know about you, but if I see anyone's little dot turn yellow or white going on that downhill section, I'm ready to slam my foot on the brakes, and I'm already starting to slow down just to make sure I don't hit them. So I imagine that's messed up a couple of people's laps. Luckily for them, though, they will be able to continue trying to set fast laps. But Bart has just come across the line now with a 2:33.6 as their time. We'll see where that slots in. It looks like it was a little slow as Machushka comes on with a 2:32.2. So I think realistically, we're more looking at that 2:32.2 as the time to beat here. Of course, Machushka being one of the only ones so far to set a lap for qualifying. So I think a lot of people actually, Miguel, have invalidated their first lap.
Yes, and not only invalidated. If you look at the way the cars are spread out, they're quite close to each other. Even though these are just cup cars, they still make a very big plume of water from the back of the car, so it's difficult to follow each other. And I think that will be affecting some people as they try to set their quick laps.
Yeah, you're right. Of course, if you're stuck behind someone you can't see, you have to try and back up a little bit. As Groove there goes very, very wide out of the fast chicane. We'll hopefully be able to just slow it back on the track. Looks like they struggled a little bit there, catch himself at the end. But that's the other danger as well, is if you miss the track, if you go onto the grass, I mean, it's hard enough recovering on the grass anyway, but when it's raining, it's just 20 times harder. So you've got to make sure you can recover quickly and safely. The key part there is the Groove did not hit the wall that was very, very close to the right-hand side of the car, so they will be very happy they didn't do that. Here's someone who's not set a time yet. It's Phil Roberts. We'll see what sort of time they're going to set as they come across the line. And actually, looking at the leaderboard, I think Machushka has set an absolute god lap in there, because currently the nearest person behind Machushka is Max Simmons, and that is 2:33.6. That's 1.385 seconds behind. So Machushka here is looking for a very, very good race if they can hold this.
Yes, we will see. I mean, Heilman and Martin Lawrence, they're around the same time, but maybe they just had a slower first lap, try to get the tires warmed up a little easier. You don't really want to push it that much when they're too cold and under pressured. Of course, that will drain them, and you lose out on grip for your second push lap. So we'll see. Max Simmons, he's very, very close to Parthmatia with 100th between them, and that is for pole position in the silver class.
Yeah, the silver field is looking like the more competitive field right now, as Bart sets a much quicker time there. That was a 2:32.7 from Bart. That will put them a bit further ahead of their person, Simmons. But Heilman comes in with a time as well. This is a lot better than what they were doing. Still 9 tenths off Machushka though, and you can see a couple more people are setting some better laps. Ripper as well in the 666. That's 0.6 off Machushka. So there are some new times coming through, but it looks like Machushka's original time of the 2:31.8 will be enough to keep them in the pole position for now. And I was just thinking, I was looking at the map after you mentioned how close the cars were together. Wolf Machushka at the front of that pack has all of the open air they need, whereas everyone else is currently clumped right up behind someone. I'm thinking that's what's playing into Machushka's hands here, is Machushka has just got that perfect spot. They came out first, they had all the open air, and that is why we see them so far ahead in this qualifying session.
Yeah, it will be difficult for the other people following, of course, but as you pointed out, he's at the Wolf is at the front of the queue. He's got all the clean air and all the clear track. Doesn't have to worry about a thing. Even yellow flags, because yellow flags, when you see them, you have to react to them. You have to slow down carefully. You have to be prepared to stop if need be. And well, if he has no one ahead of him to cause those yellow flags, that's just better.
Is indeed someone who I think we should quickly pay attention to here is the number 5 car driven by Bart. Well, Bart already has a very, very good time, especially that they're in the silver class. But what I can tell you right now is they're almost a second up on their previous lap. They're just coming through into the final sector now. Very, very high up on their time right now. Lawrence as well has just set the new fastest pole time of a 2:31.5. So people clearly getting a lot more comfortable now as the session goes on. We're in the final part of qualifying. So these will be the final laps for most of these drivers. Bart, of course, going to be the first one to cross the line and have their final lap done.
Oh
We'll see how much
no!
they can hold on to. And oh no, that they can't. They've run wide and they've lost all the time. And that is painful because before they went into that corner, Miguel, Bart was a second up on his delta there. That would have put him very, very close to pole.
Yes, that could have been enough for pole, or maybe even second place. But here we see Wolf Matushka as he goes across the line and takes pole with a 2:30.9. Wow, what a lap! What a lap!
Well, we saw Lawrence there. They managed to set a quicker lap than Machushka the lap before and put themselves on pole. But Machushka had an answer to that immediately. Sets the first 2:30 of the session there with a 1 second improvement on their own time. So now Lawrence has to answer back. This is the last chance Martin Lawrence will have to come up with an answer to what Machushka's just done. I'm not 100% sure if they've got the potential here to do it. They've got to find time somewhere, and they're already almost 2 sectors into the lap. So we'll see if there is time to find here. We'll wonder if Lawrence maybe has a trick up their sleeve coming into the final sector, which they'll be entering shortly. But they're 4 tenths up on their best lap time right now. It's not currently enough to overtake Machushka ahead, but will it be enough by the time they come round into the final corner? We will be able to find out shortly. But as it stands, Machushka is looking very, very, very comfortable in that pole position right now.
Yes, and well, Martin Lawrence, he's really the only one that can challenge Wolf Matushka for pole. Martin Lawrence, as he goes into this final chicane, he's still ahead, but might not be enough. Could not be enough. We'll have to see as he goes around the final corner. Maybe he's got it. Oh, he goes wide out of the last corner. It's still a valid lap, but it is not an improvement.
Oh no!
No.
I think that was probably a very good lap for Lawrence. That might have just been enough. I was looking at the delta as they crossed the line there. I think they're about 6 tenths off on their time. That would have been enough to overtake Machushka, I think, just about. But Lawrence invalidating the lap, I think, on the last corner. I think they just went a little bit too wide by the end of it there. So Lawrence going to have to do more in the race here. We'll be looking to overtake Machushka quickly. Ripper will be in third place. And we're just watching the final few people come across the line now. And there's a couple of improvements across the board. But most notably, Machushka's on pole for pro. Max Simons on pole for silver. And Phil Roberts will be leading the AM pack once we come into the race one here shortly. But before then, we have some standings for you from what happened last week. Well, here are the pro standings. Robin Schaefer with 74 points is currently in first place. Martin Lawrence just behind them with 60 points. Benjamin Harleman as well had a very good week last week. They'll be in third currently with 50 points. Tan, they're currently 42 points. They're in fourth. Vig Stew will be in fifth place. And Verstreppen will be in sixth. They've got 28 points. Jordan Daly is in seventh. Wolf Machushka and Nicholas Nordvist, they are tied on 13 points for eighth place right now. And then Dvorak will have 11 points. They're currently in 10th. Well, these are the rest of the pros. You've got Ripper in 11th, Katard in 12th, Tornberg is currently in 13th, and Svensson is in 14th place. Boardman as well in 15th, 13th to 15th, all have 8 points tied. Rosu has 16th, Marks 0 and Stevenson also has 0 points. They're in 17th place, and Schumacher didn't make the first race. They were not involved.
And here for the silver standings, leading we have Benjamin Schumann with 76 points, quite a bit far ahead of Arlie Chamberlain in second with 54, Peter Roach in third with 42, followed closely behind by Mart Mattia with 40. These are both Polish drivers. Next up, we have Ryan Mawson in fifth, Max Simmons in sixth, followed closely by Kyle Tate in seventh, with a bit of a gap to John Racer in eighth, followed closely by Martin van der Zen in ninth, and Mateus in 10th. Not that far behind. Tied for 11th place, we have Mollier and Van der Hoen with 11 points. Tom Watts in 13th with 8, Rob Franken in 14th, followed by Kuzima and Jackson with just a single point in 16th, and then Borodai and Jackson with no points.
And here are your AMs. Jan Yo, 76 points in first place. John Schultz behind has 54 points there in second. And Ryan Gill will round out the top three. They have 42 points. Phil Roberts and Tom Bryan, they're currently tied on 36 points for fourth place. Stefan Miller, they have 31 points. They are slotting in sixth. Vonja is in seventh. They're just 1 point behind Miller ahead. Atta is in eighth place. Kusera in ninth. And then Aaron Fox will round out the top 10 with 14 points. And then at the bottom of AM, you've got Daniel Grove. They have 12 points there in 11th. Brokema, they've got 8 points there in 12th. And then Scott Barron and Redford, Oppenheims, Bettia, all with 0 points at the end. Brouwers, Verstraeten and Svexvik have not showed up to a race yet. Well, those are your standings currently as we're about to start race 1 here. The cars are going to have to do an outlap first. And as you can see, the weather is still very, very wet here at Bathurst, so it is going to be a full 20-minute sprint race of rain. You've currently got Machushka on pole, Lawrence is in second place, and Ripper currently in third. All three of them, I imagine, will be battling into the first corner, but they will have to be careful with this wet weather. And I've got to say, Miguel, as we are starting now on this outlap, I can only think that there's a lot of people here who are going to have to do a bit of a climb. I mean, look at, you've got 3 pros at the top in the pro class, and then it's basically just a block of silvers. So there's a lot of climbing to do for these pros that will be wanting to fight for positions here.
Yes, there will be, and with these conditions, you just have to be careful. Let's not forget to first get the points. Well, first you must finish. And these track in these conditions, it will be a tricky one to pull.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a tough race for them. Of course, we've got the 20-minute race. Now, after this 20-minute race, we'll be moving on to a 40-minute race, so it'll be double the length. However, where they set their time in quali is going to determine where they start. So Machushka here is going to have 2 races started on pole. And I've got to say, after last week, that is definitely what Machushka will be wanting here. And I'm actually thinking about it as well. Wolf Machushka on pole. This is brilliant because Robin Schaefer, who is currently leading the championship, as we've just seen, not in sight right now. I'm not even sure if they're actually here. Oh, they are. They're currently all the way down in 36. They're 1 off the bottom part. So Machushka here has a very good opportunity to get right back into fighting for the championship.
And that is very strange. I mean, Robin Schaefer, he did set a time, but it was a 2:41. So he was 10 seconds off the lead time, the pole time. I wonder if maybe he had some sort of emergency, maybe some hardware failure that he couldn't partake in the qualifying. It will be tough for them, but hopefully, first 20 minutes race, not a lot of people will be used to the track. They'll be a bit nervous, and, well, he's an experienced driver and quick, so hopefully he'll make the climb up the field quite quickly.
Well, that's what I'm thinking here, is how far can they climb? It might be quite a lot. Of course, it's raining and it's Bathurst, so the amount of accidents that could happen maybe it's best to start from the back and just make sure you navigate your way through the field quickly. Gonna look at chat for a second here. There's quite a lot of you talking today. Rex said so many cars. Well, there are so many cars on track, and we do love having a lot of cars on track. Hopefully, so many cars will give each other enough room here. MPY said, great to see a big field. We agree. Ovac, I got a bad feeling about this start, folks. I've got to agree with you there. I'm hoping it will all go well here as we are approaching the start-finish time. We've got a couple of more corners to get through here, but hopefully it's just a bad feeling, and that is where it will stay. Rex said, this camera pan and the transition back to the field with a little hand doing a chef's kiss sort of thing. Well, that is due to Christian Sugar. He is our broadcaster for these Thursday races and always knows what to do with the camera. So a big thank you to you there, Christian. Well, we're going through the final chicane now, Miguel. And, well, we're going to do a bit of a prediction game here. Who do you think is going to come out on top? I'm going to say, I think Lawrence is going to give Machushka a run for their money. And I think those two are going to be batting it out into turn one. I think Lawrence might come out on top here.
Well, just to be of the contrary, I think Ripper will be leading at the end of lap 1. I mean, look at the start. They're in the ideal position. They'll get slipstream down into turn 2. If Martin Lawrence sticks it out around turn 1, and, well, then he's got no slipstream, he's dead in the water. Maybe Ripper can slingshot past both of them if he keeps close enough.
Well, we'll see
That's my
shortly.
prediction.
Yeah, I think it's a good prediction, honestly. I think we'll see shortly whether Ripper can pull it off. Having slipstream at the start is going to be majorly beneficial here, although the rain will be playing a big part in that first corner. Well, we're going off now. Machushka's got a very good start, has already cut Lawrence off, gone to the outside so that they can prioritise the first corner. Lawrence will just slot in behind and Ripper will slot in behind those two, and it looks like, for the most part, I'll try not to jinx it, we have a very clean track behind. You can see so many cars there fighting for room through the first corner, but everyone seems to be facing the right way as we go up towards turn 2 here. Well, Machushka's had a very good exit onto the straight. They're still going to be leading by quite a significant margin as well. Lawrence and Ripper, they're just going to have to slow in behind. It looks like Heilmann goes for a move around the outside of Simons here. So much rain kicking up, we can barely see what's happening, but I think Heilmann may have just managed to fight their way through. Actually, no, it looks like they've slotted behind a couple of cars, so maybe Bart's had the better start here and has got ahead, but as you can see, so much rain and barely any vision of what's happening on track right now.
Yes, this is the problem with wet races. You can't see the cars, even in these off-track cameras. It's difficult. And as we can now get the confirmation, Heilmann, he did drop to 6th from starting in 4th, I believe it was. So, and that's kind of sucks. But still a long race, still 20 minutes to go. I mean, come on, Heilmann, he did a good job last week. He was fighting with the leaders, so hopefully we'll see him back to that form later.
Well, we'll be hoping for Heilmann there, see if they can restore their podiums that they were scoring last week. We can just watching the cars go through the downhill section here, as I believe car number 504 has had an accident. They're currently stopped on track and yellow flagged. I'm wondering who that is. I'm not sure who the 504 car is, and I can't actually see them on the list yet. It's Atta. We're going to have a replay, see what happened here. But this is IB Atta in the car 504. They're currently in the middle of the pack, it seems, as they're about to enter the downhill section. Oh, I think they might have just got hit by the car behind. Maybe they twigged on the back wheels there, but they'll meet the wall and they are facing the wrong way. They're back on track. It looks like Lewis went for a move on Machushka there. Tried to do a dive bomb into the chicane. Machushka's facing the wrong way and off track. Lawrence has pulled over to the side to let Machushka back on in front, but that has caused a bit of an accident as some cars gone off the track are going to have to try and rejoin there. And I saw this coming a while away. Lawrence has spent every single one of these BMW M2 races in second place so far, was looking to try and change that and get himself into first, but it's not the place to do it. You can't dive bomb into a fast corner on a wet track. It's not going to work. And, well, you called it, Miguel. Ripper leads after lap 1.
Well, it's been one lap and we have one Pro 1 pole, followed by a lot of silvers. 4 of them. I didn't expect Ripper to be leading after the start. I mean, Wolf Matuszka had a brilliant start and was in first into turn 1, 2, and so on. Well, it's just a shame that there was contact, but hopefully there will be close racing between those two now. See if they can get up the field.
Well, they will have to start trying to come up the field now. Here's the fight for for first place currently in the silver split. This Cyber's trying to defend against Bart, Mawson, and Chamberlain. Well, it looked like Bart was going for a move around the outside initially, but has tucked back behind Mawson. Mawson's actually going to be the one to come out top, finding the inside. We're going to see them as they go through the uphill section here. Not really the place to do an overtake, if I'm going to be honest. They'll probably just have to follow for a little bit. Not going to have a chance either until they get into that third sector of the lap. But, well, here's what Harley Chamberlain can see. Basically nothing here as they try and stick as close to Bart as possible without there being another instant on track. But, I mean, you called it, Miguel. Ripper's in first place, and they've got a wall of 4 silver drivers before Heilmann, who will be second in the pro split. And that's the dream for Ripper. All Ripper has to do now is just hot lap until the end and not get in trouble. And they've secured their first victory of the season.
Yeah, they had a good start last week, so it's good to see them on pole this week. And yes, with Simmons, Mawson, Mattia, and Chamberlain all fighting for a position, and these being equal cars, it's so difficult to just pass people. And as Simmons, yes, Mawson, he tries to go side by side with Simmons, and he seems to have just washed out of the track.
Oh,
that was a very safe rejoin. I believe that is Heilmann.
Oh.
As Heilmann was a bit squirrely coming out of that corner, and might even lose the position to Kuzma behind.
Yeah, well, Heilmann and Kuzma are very, very close to each other right now as they come through the final corner onto the straight. Looks like they're going to be able to keep out of each other's way. But, I mean, I agree with you there, Miguel. I could see a problem starting there as Heilmann did tuck back towards the rest of the pack. Heilmann, of course, being the pro driver that wants to climb through these amps as quickly as possible. But Mawson will now lead as Simons goes way too wide on the track. They'll slot down into 5th. So, I mean, Mawson looking very, very good right now. Does have to fend off Bart, though. Here's the fight for 8th place.
But look at the Pedro Marques. He's actually pushing Heilmann along the straight. That is brilliant. That is the first time we've seen people bump drafting in this series.
Well,
and it's good to see that it works.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you get the car to go otherwise? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, that's just brilliant from Pedro Marques. I mean, he's made the position on Kuzma just like that. And now, of course, he's got to fight Heilmann for 2nd place in Pro. And I don't want to take sides, of course, but, Pedro Marques, he's a compatriot of mine, so I'll still be impartial, Mr. Heilmann, but, yes, wow, this is getting really heated at the front between these 3 now. As it seems like Bart has made the position on Mawson.
I'm going to be honest, I have no idea who just did the thing there. I'm glad you've mentioned that it was Bart making the position on Mawson because I had no idea who overtook who. For me, that was just a big plume of water kicking up off the track, but Bart has appeared to have got that move done. Managed to overtake Mawson, I think almost contact, but both of them actually not having contact with each other, just sliding out, losing grip. But of course, recovering quicker will take the position now, but Mawson will want that back. Chamberlain following closely behind as well. Simmons, not sure about the number 20. I'm going to call them Simons for now. They've dropped back a little bit off the main pack. Actually, no, Chamberlain's now dropped back off the pack as well. This is the problem, Miguel, with the wet races is there's so much accidents going on, not necessarily full hitting accidents, but the sliding that's happening out of every corner, as Simon's just proving my point there, picks up a little bit of the grass on the side, that the gaps are constantly changing. So honestly, I'm not rooting, but I'm thinking Mawson now has the better end of the stick for finishing this race in first for the silver split, as they've just overtaken Bart. But this is how it's going to be. You're going to follow until the person in front of you makes a mistake, and then you're going to take the position. That's just how this race is going to go.
As it seems like, as we cut to Mawson and Bart, Mawson has made the pass on Bart again. Or, yes, but I believe Mawson, he was in 3rd behind Bart, and he's just made the move stick into turn 1. Now, Mawson, he's got the clear air, he's got the clear vision, he can see everything into turn 2. We'll see how it goes over the mountain, if he can keep it.
Well, we were wondering what happened to Wolf Machushka after the incident at the beginning. Well, here he is, down in 11th place, currently trying to climb back up through the positions. He's having to face off Moliet right now. Moliet is in a different split, but will not be wanting to let Machushka through because they're trying to catch up with the number 12 car ahead of them. Well, Moliet has now actually, I think, just had an incident that's put them behind Machushka. I think it was just a small one, but Machushka will climb up into that 10th position spot. We'll have to now clear the number 12 BMW, Huizma, before they can start climbing positions again. But Machushka had a very unfortunate start. Of course, we saw at the end of lap 1, made contact with Martin Lawrence, and that has forced both of them down to the pack. But Machushka seems to be recovering a lot quicker because Martin Lawrence, down 16th, is really struggling to find the pace now. And I'm wondering, have they picked up damage that is stunting the car? You said earlier that damage doesn't make too much of a difference, and I agree, it doesn't, especially with these cup cars. But where's the threshold with these cars? We don't know. Has Lawrence just found it? Is this where the car starts to underperform?
Yes, and well, maybe another factor in this is that this is, oh no, as that wasn't Wolf Matushka, that looked like it was Kuzma went wide, and
Where'd they go?
well, Kuzma seemed to go wide at the Forest Elbow, and well, Matushka being so close behind had nowhere to go and hit them. Because now we see Kuzma and Jackson going side by side and actually making it stick. Will Jackson make the position? And looks like it will still be side by side into the last corner. So maybe they've just lost it to Kuzma.
Oh, that was a very close race now. I think Jackson is just going to have to tuck behind for now as Kuzma manages to hold it together around the outside. But, well, Kuzma looks like they've gone a little bit too wide there. We'll have to get back onto the track as quickly as possible. And as we were saying last week, the key of these cars is carrying momentum. It's one thing to go slightly wide in the corner in one car, but it's another in these. It looks like Martin Lawrence back there is about to make a dive. And Schultz is actually connected with the real Schultz. They're both facing the wrong way. Going to have to slot back onto the track now, but Martin Lawrence not going to take the responsibility for this one. We'll just continue to go ahead of Schultz here. That's going to be another incident. That is 2 now for Martin Lawrence in this race. Lawrence not looking comfortable in the rain here at Bathurst at all, but well, they've just got more cars to climb through now. You can see that's a fairly big train, and as we said last week, you have a slight spin, puts you off track for what, 1-2 seconds. That's 3-4 places you can wave goodbye to. So Lawrence has got a much taller order to try and climb through for race 1 now.
Yes, and that incident, unfortunately, it put Schultz out of the winning spot for AM class. So it looks like Phil Roberts is back again at leading the silver class.
Yeah, Phil Roberts had a very, very good race. Of course, I believe they started on pole for the AM. They are back in first place for the AM split currently, and they have a nice buffer of both pros and silvers between Schultz behind. So Phil Roberts going to be quite happy with how that one turned out. Well, here's Heilmann. They're currently second place in the pro, but they are 6th place overall, have a lot of silvers try and clear. And well, I think we can both agree here, Miguel, that none of those silvers are going to be opening that door anytime soon because they are all currently battling for the podium positions in their class. We'll see if Heilmann can force their way through, but honestly, I'm wondering, if you're Heilmann right now, just take the 2nd place, be happy with it. Let's be real, you've got, what, a 7-8 second gap to Ripper. You're probably not closing that in 7 minutes time. If you're Heilmann, I'm just sitting there making sure you don't let marks through, but don't even try and get into an incident with the silvers because we've seen what happens. Lawrence has had an incident with an AM. There have been several other cross-class incidents. It's just not worth it. So I think we'll probably see Heilmann here settle for 2nd place. Well, we'll see how Lawrence is doing now. They're going to go a little bit wide here, picking up some dirt, and they're now threatened by Jackson from behind. But this just isn't Lawrence's race.
No, it really is not. I think he just wants to finish this one and move on to the next, as this is a very big fight for what seems to be 19th place between Franken-Daly and Schaefer. As Daly seems to be going too wide with... Oh, who's that? That is Schaefer and Franken. Two drivers that I've driven against in the past, and they are very clean, very good drivers.
Well, Schaefer here is currently trying to hold off Franken, I believe. Franken looks like... Oh, there's actually another car in the mix there. I'm not quite sure who that was. I think it was Quizma, who has happened to have a mistake there. Will find themselves just slotting back on in the way of the other drivers. But there's a lot of close racing going on right now, and it's making me very, very nervous because there's still a lot of rain, which is making it difficult. But here is the fight for, well, I'm going to say second place overall, about sixth place for the pros, first place for the Silvers. It's just a mess right now, but here is Marks there trying to hold off Heilman. It looks like they managed to find their way through at some point, actually, because I believe Heilman actually was in that sixth place spot when we started this lap. So somewhere Marks made it happen. Heilman going wide out of that corner there, going to pick up a lot of damage on the wall. Will manage to hold on against Svensson, but that damage is not going to be pretty. Actually, I think Svensson might have just passed through there, but that damage is not going to be nice for Heilman. Wolf and Choose can set the fastest lap down in 9th place. It's done a good climb so far, and there now you can see them coming up the rear of Svensson here. Is going to be looking for a way through, and that damage on Hardman is going to slow them down, and it's just going to help Machuska out. Looking at the chat for a minute, Ovak said, oh no, actually not looking at the chat for a minute, it looks like Machuska there has had a contact with Svensson. Oh no, they're stopped. Miguel, they're stopped.
Oh no. This is just, they can't do anything.
Oh.
They can't move. They have to hold this position to not cause any further incidents. It's just, this has been a terrible lap for Alman. He's gone from being second in class in pro to, well, now he's almost at the bottom.
Oh, it's just not ideal, but I apologise. Anything that I was laughing at the misfortune now, I wasn't. I was just simply laughing at the fact that Machuska, you can see, was so still, got actually nudged again by another car, which put him into the middle of the track, and you can see he just keeps tucking himself as close to that wall as possible. So Machuska's desperately trying to stay out of the way here, but well, what was a fight for 6th place is now going to be a fight for 30th. It seems Harman and Machuska recovering slowly as they get back onto the track. We just had someone else on the screen there who was in a bad spot. Schaefer goes for a spin here too. Schaefer, who had a great week last week, is not finding it the same here. They've gone up from 30th to 17th place, but I mean, it just looks like a big struggle out here for a lot of the cars today. Schaefer currently fighting Daly, getting ever so close together, making slight contact. Not going to be enough to spin over car around, but Schaefer will now take the position on Daly, who looked like they had to really try and catch it there coming out. And now they're straight. It's compromised. You can see Jackson and Franken behind. They're in the matching BMWs 9 and 9-9. Well, they're closing in on Daly here. They're currently fighting for that 17th spot, but Daly does seem to have just about recovered with enough time. And I mean, the 9 cars, they're just fighting behind. That's going to buy Daly enough time to make sure that they're not in the danger zone here.
Wow, this was a hell of a fun a couple of laps, hasn't it? I mean, we've had action up and down the field, accidents, little touches, little nudges. This might be down to the tires. I mean, let's not forget, these cars, they do not they don't have a lot of aerodynamics. So they're more down to mechanical grip, and they'll wear the tires out very quickly. Could it be maybe that? Maybe people are looking at the timer seeing there's 3 minutes left and just want to get that extra position, that extra point on the final.
All I'm going to say is, was it worth it? I mean, currently looking at this scoreboard, Miguel, you can see Schaefer, you can see Lawrence, and you could see Heilman. They are your top 3 in pro split. Well, they're not. They're certainly in this race, and I mean, if you're any of the other pros right now, you're laughing. The entire championship leaderboard will have changed here in the space of just 20 minutes of this race. Well, Schaefer here does not want to let any more positions go. They're going to go for an overtake, and I think Schultz has maybe just let them through, or was that Van der Horn? Either way, I think. I know, Schultz. Schultz, I think, let them through there. And honestly, I say, if you've been watching what's happened the rest of this race, probably the smartest choice, just to maybe try and reorganise yourself. But Schaefer has got a lot to prove and only has 2 minutes to do it. Here is Ryan Gill makes contact with Byron there going through the corner, they're going to have to try and stop back on track. There's a lot of cars there, Ryan, so you might want to do that a bit more carefully than you are, as Ryan joins right in front of a racer there who's had to put their foot on the brakes a little and slot back in behind. Ryan Gill managing to find their way back onto the track, luckily not costing anyone anything, but will certainly be probably a little bit nervous right now as they just about managed to make that rejoin happen.
It was a bit of a messy rejoin. I'd expect more, especially from the famous Ryan Rai Gill. But that was a tough one. That was a tough one, as it seems like Wolf Matuszka and Heilmann, they're still fighting. Even in 33rd place, they are still fighting for that last position in Pro that, you have an extra point or two. At the end, that could make all the difference.
This is just about ego at this point. Machuska and Heilmann fighting out. It's like, okay, we're not going to be fighting for first. We might as well fight for 34th here. But it's just about ego at this point for those two down there. I don't think either of them are going to be scoring points because I think it's the top 15 here that will bring home points. Ripper continues to lead this race. Has a nice 5.5 second gap to Mawson behind him. Mawson's not even in their split, so Ripper here is going to pick up a huge amount of points. Marks as well in second, Svensson. None of these guys currently in the top 5 for the Pro Split will be after this race is over. Well, we're currently watching Rosu. They're in 4th place, just outside of the podium for the Pro Split here, but has a huge buffer of silvers to fight through. And what I'm noticing, Miguel, is wasn't this buffer of silvers originally fighting for second place? I think there's been a bit of a mishmash here between the silvers as we see Mawson and Bart. They're going to continue to fight out for first place in the silver split here, but Simmons, Chamberlain, Jackson, Moliette, they've disappeared into the rest of the pack. So I think there has been a bit of scrapping out for that first place in silver here. Well, here's the winner of the race. Here's Marco Ripper going to come across the line. They're going to secure their first win of the BMW M2 Cup season. You can see they're very happy about it. Now they're going to tuck into the exit of the pit lane here. Mawson will come across first place for the silver. Bart will come across second place for silver. Marks will come across in second place for the pro. And Simons will round out the silver podium. Svensson will round out the pro podium. This just is a mishmash of cars here. Phil Roberts will come across the line to win their AM class drive. And Schultz has just come across the line as well for second. Bryant will come across the line and round out the top 3. So it's been an absolute mishmash of a race, Miguel. We're about to go into race 2 here. It's going to be 40 minutes long. And all I can say is I was expecting chaos. I don't think I was expecting that much chaos. Machuszka and Heilmann, they're going to battle it down to the finish line. Machuszka on the outside here. Heilmann has the advantage. Machuszka's going to look for the switchback as Heilmann goes a little bit deep. Another car somewhere on the side of the track. They're going to get in the way, allow Machuszka to have the better exit here. We'll put them ahead of Heilmann coming into the final corner. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is your fight for 33rd place here between the pro drivers. Machuszka's going to come out. Looks like they nailed that final corner. Heilmann just losing out to Machuszka at the end here. This will be your fight for 32nd. What looks like a brilliant start for both of these drivers is going to come down to a nail-biting fight for last place in their split. But going back to what I was saying, Miguel, this has been a chaotic race, and I can tell you now, those championship standings look completely different to what they did 20 minutes ago.
I am no mathematician, but I don't think you need one to figure out how much the scoreboard will change. Granted, it was only race 1, but it's the entire opposite. You have Pedro Marques, who didn't even show up to round 1. He scored second in pro. Mawson and Bart, they seem to still be fighting for the lead for silver. And Phil Roberts, well, that's a lot of points that he's got under his belt now. And we'll just have to see into race 2. Can Ripper hold it? Can Ripper pull it again? He's going to start third again. Because qualifying, it sets both the grid for race 1 and race 2. So we'll just have to see if maybe Wolf Matuszka, he can pull off that brilliant start again. And maybe if Martin Lawrence can be a bit more careful, well, might have a very good race on our hands for the lead.
I'm very interested to see what's going to happen. Of course, Machushka, like you said, will be returning to pole because qualifying did determine the results for both races. So we'll see if Machushka this time will be able to hold on to that pole. They certainly need it at this point because that's going to be their... Well, I mean, this is what happened basically last week, but in a different way. Of course, Machushka looking very, very good on the podium. In race 1 of Suzuka, ran out of fuel, which put them all the way down to 30th. This week it was a slightly different story, but they just got in too many accidents, which put them down to 30th. So Machushka needs that good result to put them fighting for the championship here. Whilst we're on the break, I'm going to take a minute to mention our partners for today. We have Race Department, AK Informatica, Driver 61, Fanatec, and SimRacing.gp. I will talk more about them and how they can help you after today's race. But well, it's certainly been a shake-up in race 1 here. We can hope that race 2 is going to be just as exciting, although maybe not with as much chaos and crashing into each other. Hopefully it's more safe battling this time around. I mean, we're going to find out what the weather's going to be looking like, Miguel, because of course it might not be raining anymore. It's a completely different day in terms of ACC. We could have a completely dry race, although most likely going to be rain here. If I know Tom Bryant, probably going to have been raining for this race too, but if it is dry, maybe that'll be what we need to see some closer racing. Of course, Lawrence as well. Like I said, they've been fighting basically second place the entire time in all of these races. Will they finally get the move done, find themselves up into first place, or is it just going to be another case of the same thing, going to have a bad start? But I tell you what, this has just been a dream situation for anyone that wasn't in that top 5 in the pro class going to this race. That was just a dream race for them, and it has been absolutely brilliant for those drivers.
Yeah, it really was. And knowing Tom, or actually not, I don't know him for that long as you do. Hopefully, you'll set the time so that it goes into a dry track. Could be, and that will be it'll be interesting. Let's just say. As it
no.
seems, it's still wet. God damn it. God damn it, Tom, this is all your fault.
I was so excited for a second there because it always looked dry. There's some very green grass around Bathurst here in Australia, but it looked dry for a second. I couldn't see the rain on my screen. I was very excited that we were going to get a dry race. Nope, it's going to be raining for race 2 here. Of course, this is 40 minutes, so it's double the length of the last one. As you can see from the grid, they have all returned to their original qualifying positions. Machushka will be on pole. Lawrence will be in second. Ripper will be in third. Simons will be in first place for silver. Bart will be in second, and Mawson will be starting third. And then Phil Roberts will be starting on pole for AM. Schultz will be starting second, and Tom Bryant will be starting in third place in AM. And I'm going to say, Miguel, I think that's actually where they finished in AM as well. Of course, that order got mixed up quite a lot throughout the race. Those AM drivers were up and down the field in all sorts of places. But I believe Phil Roberts may have actually won. Schultz would have come second and Tom Bryant would have come third. So that's going to be perfect if those guys can repeat that again. Well, here's for you, those of you that tuned in last week. This is Jesse Lee. You're wondering where Jesse Lee is on the Thursdays. He's, of course, been replaced by Miguel. Miguel kicked him out of the booth and said, no, this is my job now. Jesse Lee, as you can see, has gone to watch from the sidelines, arms crossed, not looking impressed with how it's gone. I just think he's cold for the rain, and maybe we should have thought about wearing a raincoat. I think it's an odd choice to wear a shirt out in this weather, but Jesse Lee, he's a hard man. He can take it, Miguel.
Yeah, the shirt and sunglasses. That's the Jesse Lee style. I'm surprised he doesn't have a cowboy hat because of the rain. But yes, Jesse Lee, he has been kicked out of Thursdays. It is now just me and you, and of course Christian and the broadcaster booth. But well, got Bathurst this week. What do we have next week? It is Spa.
30 seconds.
Oh, we're going
No,
to Spa
Spa.
next week.
Spa. I don't know what the weather will be. I haven't looked at the forecast. But Spa is known for very changeable weather. And hopefully Mr. Tom Bryant has taken that into consideration.
Mr. Tom Bryant has absolutely taken that into consideration. I would not be surprised if we had full wet weather yet again at Spa next week. I think this entire championship, for those of you that don't know what races we have coming up, well, we started with Suzuka, which I know a lot of people are not a fan of. We're now at Bathurst today. We're going to Spa, then we're off to Laguna Seca, and then we're off to Kailami. So I think Tom just wrote this entire championship plan out of complete spite. Everyone here picked what I'd say are the most hardest tracks in ACC, where we're starting up race 2 here. I'm going to put away Machushka's got off to a very, I'd say, great start for an out lap here. Maybe just going to get some distance, hopefully warm up those brakes, warm up those tyres. Something we've not mentioned this week, Miguel, we were talking about quite a lot last week, is that these tyres, they don't have tyre warmers on when you come out the pits. And I mean, it's wet weather, it's cold out here in Bathurst. They're going to be frozen. You're basically driving on ice cubes for the first 3 laps until you just get some heat back into those tyres. And let me tell you, it's not easy heating up these cup car tyres. I tried doing it the other day and it took me 2-3 laps to even get them slightly close to the PSI you want them to be.
Yeah, I did forget about that they don't have tire warmers. Maybe that will explain all the first couple of laps chaos that we had between the leaders of Wolf Matuszka and Martin Lawrence. Maybe they were caught out by how cold they were, the lack of grip. But I do hope, I sincerely hope that that they've gotten all of their anger out of their system for this second race. You know, they've gotten out of the car, maybe get an ice cream. Maybe it's a bit too cold for that. Maybe hot chocolate would be better. But you know, you want to come into race 2. It's a longer race. It's 40 minutes, and it's double points as well, as opposed to race 1. And well, you want to be calmer. It's a longer race. You want to take your time. Don't want to rush. And I think, or at least I hope, that that's what Martin Lawrence is going to do this time around. But I don't think that's what Ripper is hoping for.
Ripper's,
I believe.
Yeah, I'd say Ripper's probably hoping for the same thing to happen as last time, of course. Inherited that first place off Lawrence and Machushka after they had their collision on lap 1. Martin Lawrence this time around probably going to be a little bit more careful, but I agree with you there, Miguel. This is about consistency and safety now. Just try and stay out of trouble, and that's how you bring home the points.
Yeah, again, this race being double points, you really need them, and so if you're careful, you have to take it to the end. Even if you crash, have a bit of damage, you're not in the best position. You want to bring it to the finish, over the finish line, get a couple of points. That could be enough at the end of the championship.
That could be enough to, that could be enough to decide. We've already seen a big championship change up in the last race. That's certainly going to mix up the standings a little bit, and I imagine a lot of these drivers are going to want to continue with that good result so that they can push themselves a lot higher up in the championship. And Machushka needs a good result. They need to get back into this championship. Of course, they are one of the more standout drivers here. Machushka's been in basically all of these championships for the last 5 or 6 seasons. Usually one of the standout drivers has just struggled so much at the beginning of this one, so he's going to be hoping to do a bit better. Going to quickly read chat before we start here. Rex said, I wonder if ACC plugged the National Car Museum here. You never know. That they do put some interesting things at the side of the tracks here, Rex. I wouldn't be surprised if they had. And then Motorsport said, ciao, hi to all team Antonio and Domenico. Go, go, go. Well, you'll be supporting them as we go into the next race. We're about to come round the final corner here. I'm going to see if there's any more battling into turn 1 before it all just sort of smoothed itself out, Miguel, and they actually just slotted in behind each other. I'm wondering if it's going to be the same here or if they're going to be a bit more daring, as it looks like it's going to get even wetter along the next 30 minutes. But we're going to come around the final corner now, and Miguel, this is the beginning of race 2. 40 minutes this time round for double the points of last race. Take us away.
Well, as Wolf Matuszka, he will start from pole with Martin Lawrence right beside him and Marco Ripper right behind him as it goes green. And Wolf Matuszka, well, he's just that far off the field in front of Martin Lawrence as the fight is happening behind between Ripper and Lawrence. And turn 1 as they go side to side, but it seems like maybe Ripper, he was compromised out of that corner, and Heilmann is now next to him.
Oh, no.
This is now a fight for 3rd place for Heilmann.
Oh, And Heilman is still side by side with, I think this is Ripper going into the second corner here. Will Heilman be able to do it? No, it looks like they're just going to have to tuck back behind for now. Some information for those of you wondering about where's Bart. Bart is currently sitting in the pit lane. Did not get that first corner right and has already DNF'd out of this race. So Bart will not be scoring any points after such a good race one here. And it looks like car number 24 as well has had an accident. They're sitting on the corner. Wonder if they're going to recover anytime soon. But they're still fighting going on in the mid-pack here. Moliet trying to navigate their way through as Svensson is currently blocking any vision that they might have going up the hill, and at this point they're just driving on complete blind faith that they are still on the track at any point in time here. But Moliet managing to keep it together, takes a lot of curve through this corner. Lots of these cars going very wide, almost touching the wall there. Very dangerous spot, constantly getting cars hitting the wall, but all of them managed to just about keep it out. Someone has just spun there. That is Jackson in the 1-2-3 car, spins out, but does manage to recover just before going downhill. It's not going to be quick enough to keep any positions. Will lose probably the best out of 10 places there, but does manage to stop themselves back onto the track before it's too late. The 1-2-3 having to catch themselves there. Will have picked up some damage from hitting the wall as well. It looks like car number 24 has recovered and will be continuing to fight out in this race. We're going to cut back to see what's happening in front. Here's Mawson going to be looking at Heilman. Heilman originally fighting for that third place is going to drop back a little bit, having to defend against Mawson here. Machushka has given himself a 1.6 second lead to Lawrence behind as Lawrence defends from Ripper, who is looking to get a second brilliant result in this race. But as for now, that is the fighting going on. Mawson putting pressure on Heilman. It's still going on as we come into the final corner here. Looks like Heilman did not have a good exit out of the chicane. Will have to tuck in front of Mawson to defend, but Mawson not going to do any funky moves going into that final corner. Will settle for first place in their split and continue to defend from the cars behind. Calasiard looking for maybe a move on Van der Horn here. It's going to clobber that inside corner a bit, but I tell you what, Miguel, a very, very action first one. It looks like there's more cars. It's the 24 again, and the 19 and the 49, I believe, all sitting there on the exit of that chicane. Barely giving me a chance to breathe. There's Tom Bryant now having to defend against Jackson, going around the outside of turn one. Looks like they have got the move done. Wow, Miguel, what a first lap we have just had here.
Wow, this is just, it's action-packed. You don't have a moment to breathe. As Tom Bryant, he's defending from the 99 and the number 9 car of Franken. I mean, this is just non-stop action, pretty much. Now, remember, Bryant, he is in a different category to the cars around him. He is in the M class, the others are in the silver class. But he still wants to make those positions to catch up to the podium, to Phil Roberts and Schultz, who are sitting in 12th and 13th.
Well,
and
that
of course
itself surprises me, because I mean, Schultz and Phil Roberts, they did not start that close together, so Schultz has closed that gap massively up there as a racer. Looks like they're going to go for a move up the hill. I think this is particularly dangerous. Looks like they're going to get it done though. They've just overtaken Schaefer going up the hill, and I've got to say that's probably the overtake of the day already for me. To go up the hill and make a safe overtake, unbelievable. That is amazing driving from a racer there.
It really is, and it looks like Schaefer, he had a bad drive out of there, because he's also lost the position to Ryan Gill.
Oh. I think Schaefer might have just saved themselves there from a potential accident. I think they're currently getting a lot of pressure from the car behind. You actually know they are currently putting pressure on the car ahead. I think they're bringing the fight to Gill. Very close as they come out of the downhill section past Forrest Elbow there. Schaefer trying to look for the inside of Gill. Do they have the pace coming onto the very long straight? It looks like both cars had the same sort of exit, and well, neither of these cars have great acceleration because of course they are the cup cars, so Schaefer's just going to have to tuck in behind Gill to try and get some slipstream going into the chicane. Will they maybe try and go for a move? It looks like they're looking towards the inside of Gill here. They're not going to go for the dive bomb. A very smart choice from Schaefer here, as it looks like Byron's gone off track, tries to rejoin next to Gill, who's just going to avoid them, but that's going to compromise his exit. Schaefer now will be able to get through the AM driver that was holding them up. Schaefer finally getting the move done on Gill, as it looks like Rosu's going for a move of their own on Calatiyard. And Schultz here has gone for a dive down the inside, but they're both going to follow through on the AM driver. I'm wondering there if Schultz has just let them through and just tried to be safe, as they currently have dropped back off Roberts, but both Rosu and Kalasiad here are going to continue fighting. We're coming up into the second corner. It looks like Kalasiad in the number 30 going to look for a move around the outside, but Rosu's going to cut that off before they have a chance to get neck and neck, and I think 30's going to have to wait for another day. They're very, very close together, but I'd say the opportunity's gone. Maybe some other drivers would argue, as we have seen a couple of overtakes come into this uphill section, but for now I think the goal for Kalasiad, just trying to keep it as close as possible. Machuska has the fastest lap, and they are 2 seconds clear of Lawrence right now. Machuska, Miguel, has had a brilliant first couple of laps this time around.
It really has. It just goes to show that Wolf Matushka, when he puts his head down, he's just focusing. He's just a machine, just banging out faster and faster laps. And I mean, he's already 2 seconds, almost 2 seconds clear of Martin Lawrence. And that's quite a lot of time to make up in 3 laps.
Who's that? Sorry, who's that going across the line? Oh, that's Bart. Bart's back in the race.
Oh, is he? It's interesting. Yes, he is. Maybe it was a computer problem. Maybe he forgot to, he had to go to the bathroom, didn't make it back to the car in time. Maybe that's what happened. And now he's got to make sure that he finishes the race, at least get a couple of points. As Jackson, well, that's an interesting tactic. He's got no window wipers going on.
Jackson using the force.
Yes, I think that he's using the power. Oh, as Daly goes for the move on the inside and seems to hit the number 9 car. Oh, no. That's not good. That's not what you want to see. It looked like Daly outbraked himself, braked a little bit later, and just got caught out.
It's definitely been less chaos this time round in race 2, but still chaos nonetheless. It looks like Daly's about to do it again on another driver here. I think they've just spun out. I'm not sure who that is. That might have actually been Ryan Gill. They've just spun out going into the final corner there, but Daly is not having a good couple of corners there. I think that was actually a Raza. Maybe that was just spun out. I'm not sure. Someone was spun out there by Daly. Well, 2 people were spun out by Daly. Daly not having a great couple of corners. Going to read chat for a second. Rex is the tyre temperatures and pressures are going to drop. Why has he said that? Well, it's about to get even wetter in the next 10 minutes here. And of course, the track is wet right now. It could be flooded soon. That is an option in ACC. Well, there's a bit of a battle going on just behind the number 34 car here. I believe this is Schaefer and Gill yet again fighting it out here towards the back of this pack. They're currently fighting down in 20th place. Schaefer, who was leading the championship going into this set of races here at Bathurst, did not have a great qualifying session, could not get a good time down, was 10 seconds off the pace, and Machuska found himself in 30th. So Schaefer's having to climb through the field. I don't think they're going to be in the lead of the championship after the last couple of races they've had. They're, though, currently trying to fight Vorak right now. They're in the number 34 car, holding off Schaefer. Got a little bit of a gap to do so right now. So I'd say they're safe. When it's... Oh, what's happened to Mawson here? Mawson's facing the wrong way in the downhill section. This is the problem with Bathurst, Miguel. If you make an instant here, that's it. You're just... You can't recover. You sit and you wait, and that is what Mawson's doing right now.
Oh, that is not good for Mawson. He finished first on race 1, and now he's just sitting there. He has to wait for the entire field to go through so that he can do a safe rejoin. And, well, he's still got 30 minutes. Let's hope he didn't get that much damage from that incident, and maybe he might even recover. As we have Carlos and Rose fighting tooth and nail for 11th place.
I think Carlos has got a very good exit coming out of the final chicane here. Do they have enough power to get through Rosu? These two have been fighting it out for the past 5 minutes. It looks like Carlos is about to get side by side, not quite managed to do it before the corner, maybe going for a switchback, but it's just not going to work in these cars that do not have the momentum carry through the corners, and they're going to have to tuck behind for a little bit longer. I've realised as well this is a very short start-finish straight, which is why on a lot of these first corners that we've been talking about on the beginning of the races, Machushka's had the better end of the stick because there's no time to overtake them, especially not in these cars. You just don't have the acceleration to do so. So that is why it's been a very much case of the pole person has led going into the first corner here. Well, here is Harley Chamberlain. They got an incident in race 1. They're currently fighting second place in silver class. Race 2, Kuzma currently holds first, is just trying to pull away from them as they go up the hill. Mark's behind them, hoping to clear both the silver drivers before too late. Well, here's Tom Bryant. They're still holding the podium position, that final podium position for the AM class. Managing to have a good couple of races. I'm going to try not do the commentator's curse on Tom Bryant, although can you commentator's curse Tom Bryant? Usually does it to himself in these sorts of races. Has managed, though, to be consistent throughout race 1, securing himself a podium. Can he do it again in race 2? He has 30 minutes to stay on track. Will Bryant be able to do it? We saw him have a couple of incidents in the practice session, but for now, Miguel, looking very, very comfortable in the car.
Yeah, he is, and it's good to see him do well. I mean, he is a friend of RCI at the end of the day, but oh my god, as Tate, he has a massive tail wag, and he caught it at first, but he's still going sideways, and he's caught it again. Impressive car control from Kyle Tate.
I love that. I love that he's still going sideways. It's just such a perfect way of explaining what happens as you go down that downhill section there. It's like you lose it and you've got to put your faith in God and hope that he carries you through the next couple of corners, albeit sideways. It looks like Mark's here going for a move on Chamberlain. Do they have enough momentum as they come into the large chicane? It looks like they're not going to have enough to get side by side, but all that they need here is a good exit before the final corner, where it looks like Chamberlain might have had a good exit as well, and I don't think Pedro Marks is going to have enough power to get there before the final corner. Looks like it's going to have to settle for 6th place for now, but to be a contrast from race 1 here, Miguel, before what we saw in race 1 was we saw Ripper. They were leading the pros at the front. It looks like Carlos there was sliding out of the final corner, maybe on the side, but Ripper was leading in the pros, and then it was just a block of 5 silvers before the next pro. This time round, we've got a block of 4 pros at the front, and it is the 4 pros you expect to see biting it out at the front there. It is, of course, Machushka, Lawrence, Heilman and Ripper fighting it out for those podium positions. Well, here's Schaefer. He's your pro leader. Not where you'd expect him to be. Currently down in 19th, just trying to get as many places as possible here. Can he recover and get enough points to continue to hold the championship lead? We're going to find out in the next 26 minutes.
That's 26 minutes to go. That's still a lot of time. As we see Jackson, he has gone wide out of turn 2 and has allowed Tate to go side by side with him. Will Tate make the move? Well, it looks like maybe not. He'll have to tuck in, but as he goes to tuck in, Schaefer is there. And they're still side by side out of that corner. Still side by side going up the hill. This is dangerous stuff. But it seems like they've made it work so far.
Oh no!
They are still side by side. Tate, he is going wide. Oh, maybe collected the wall. Had to slow down, not to, and has allowed Schaefer to go by. Now that is a good move by Schaefer. He has lost a bit of time to the guy ahead, Jackson, but he has made a place. And that's what he wants. He wants to put as much distance as he can between Vorak and catch up to Carlos up ahead.
Well, Scott there went for a little bit of a walk coming down the downhill section. Couldn't find the track. Had to go off the runoff area and try and recover on that. It looks like Chamberlain has just lost a position here to Marks in the 128 car. We're going to watch from Pedro's rear wing here to see there's Chamberlain disappearing slightly behind. So Marks has made the move. They can now turn their attention to Heilman ahead. They're going to want to try and catch up with Heilman if they want to be fighting these pros up front. Well, Martin Lawrence in the 171 has just set the fastest lap. They've taken that from Wolf Machushka. Is this the start of a catch-up play from Martin Lawrence? Will they be able to close that gap? They've got 24 minutes to do so, and it's not that huge a gap up front, so it's definitely possible for Martin Lawrence to close up here and take the lead back off Machushka, where we're kind of going to watch Jackson. They're fighting for 14th place. They want to clear Van der Horn ahead in the 606. It looks like they've had a good exit out the corner, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough, Miguel, as they come towards the second corner here. You can see that the slipstream is working, but it's not enough for Jackson to get ahead. It's just enough for Jackson to continue to keep up here. Will they go for a dive or move? I don't think so. It's very, very wet. Christian is cheering in the broadcasting booth. He wants Jackson to go for a send here. Jackson, not going to make the stupid choice, is going to remain behind Van der Horn, but will keep that gap as close as possible going into the uphill section. Honestly, I know Christian wanted that to be a send. I think it's smart Jackson didn't go for the dive bomb there, Miguel.
Yes, it is. It is the smart play. You don't want to risk it. We still have a little bit over half of the race to go, as Jackson gets a bit of a tail wag coming up that hill. This is the problem with following a car this closely. You lose a little bit of grip, and because it's wet, well, you just can't see anything. It becomes so much more difficult. But Jackson, you should. It's the smart play to just stay as close as he can to Van der Horn and try to get the move down the Conrad Straight with the slipstream.
I agree. I think it's the best thing here is to keep it as close as possible. Try and just follow through. You've got a nice long straight about to come up after they come out of the forest elbow here, and you can see that Jackson's priority is just trying to get a good exit. It's not going to matter. They're too far back for now from Van der Horn. They had a little bit of a tricky downhill section there, but I would say this is the safest place to get the move done, as it looks like Jackson is going to try and go for a move around the outside of Tom Bryan. And is that Jackson as well leading the pack? Well, Jackson's going to try and get a double move done here. They've already cleared Bryan. Will it be enough to clear the cars ahead? Well, we can see them. They're currently fighting with Schaefer right now. It looks like Schaefer's gone off the track here. They're going to pick up a lot of dirt. They're going to try and rejoin before the chicane. Not going to happen. Jackson's going to take the better end here, rejoin ahead of Schaefer, but those two getting ever so close. It looked like Jackson just trying to force Schaefer off the track there, managed to do so, but hey, neither of them touched. It's safe in my book. As long as none of them hit each other, that is fair racing. If you ask me, Franken now looking for a move down the inside of Ryan Gill, going into the final corner. It looks like they've got it done, as they are going to have the area here to abuse it. Ryan, though, still managing to hold on. It's going to be neck and neck as they go down the start-finish straight here. They're going to cross the line next to each other. Does Ryan have what it takes to go round the outside here? We're going to watch from Scott's perspective, which is basically just a blur of water, but still neck and neck of Ryan Gill and Franken ahead. Going to go into the second corner with each other. It looks like, although Franken much better exit out of the first, he's going to start to put away from Gill. Gill still hanging on the inside there, though, has not dropped fully back behind Franken yet. Will continue to look for the inside as they come into the second corner here. Will Ryan Gill have what it takes? Scott is going to try and join in the fight as well. Will they go for the outside around Ryan Gill? It looks like Ryan Gill actually going to have a better exit here as they overtake Franken, and Scott is going to try and follow through as well. And now Franken in the number 9 is going to have to defend from the double 3-4. It looks like Scott is still going to push it as well, not wanting to give this up. They're trying to keep up with Gill. Of course, that is the fight for 4th place in Am, so Scott is going to continue to push for this fight. They're still trying to get ahead of Franken, neck and neck, going through the uphill section, getting ever so close to each other, but not quite touching. Franken is desperate to defend this for their life. They are pushing Scott to the edge, and Scott might have to give up for another day, although they've had a much better exit. Going to go way too down the inside. It's actually going to make contact with Franken coming out of the corner, has spun around, and that will spell the end of that battle. I'm wondering, was it worth it for Franken to defend that much against Scott? You could tell how much Scott wanted this move. Went to the inside, picked up the dirt, couldn't brake. Franken is now going to have to rejoin the track here, but what a fight from those two cars, Miguel, albeit it was for a different split. I'm wondering, was it worth it for Franken there? I mean, it absolutely was. For Scott, they had to try and keep this gap close to Gill. I don't think it's worth it for Franken. Those Jackson goes for a dive down the inside. Gonna completely miss their brake marker there. We'll have to rejoin behind Van der Horn. Wow, what a fight we have just had, Miguel.
Wow, that was amazing racing between Scott and Franken. Now, I've raced with both of them, Scotty and Franken. Franken is very clean, and so is Scotty. It's kind of surprising to see them take each other out like that. It looked like a bit of an aggressive defensive move from Franken. Maybe Scotty wasn't wasn't expecting it. Well, he just went a bit too much, touched the grass, just couldn't brake for the corner.
Well, when the stakes are high, you get hungry. That's all I'm going to say about that. And I think Scott there was just desperate to keep the gap as close as possible. As you can tell, it's not worked out. 4.3 seconds split Scott and Gil, and that's just from the fighting. So that's why Scott was so desperate to get through there. And you could be the two safest drivers on the planet. Once you see that car ahead of you start to disappear, you're going to push as much as you can to get through anyone, no matter what.
Yeah, especially as we have... Oh, as Mawson, he goes for a dive down the inside of Bettiati into turn 2, and he goes wide and hits the wall. He's kept the position, he's made the position up on Bettiati, but that's more damage that he's got now. He didn't have a clean car before, and it's definitely not cleaner now after that corner.
It's got to be starting to add up now as well. Like, Mawson's got to be starting to feel this damage. We're going to watch Carlos Clatiard. Are they going to be able to get a move on Phil Roberts coming out of the forest elbow here? They need to close this gap as much as possible. It looks like they're doing a good job of doing so. He's going to go for a send into the forest elbow as Carlos goes down the inside of the 225 BMW. Phil Roberts, that is a move. That is done safely as well. I'm very impressed with that from Carlos. He's going to start to pull away on the straight here. Is Roberts, though, going to try and fight back? It looks like they've got a good run coming out into the straight here, and of course they're going to have a much better run than Carlos, who had to compromise their corner trying to get the move in the first place. Will Roberts try and answer it? It looks like Carlos is covering the inside as they come into the chicane here, but Roberts will have to back out, it looks like, before they even have a chance to make a move there. But what a move from Carlos Calatayud there. Absolutely beautifully done. Sebastian Brunier in the chat asks, it's a question asked, can you even think of trying the inside of that corner with the mindset of finishing the corner safe for every party? I'm wondering what corner you're talking about. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Sebastian, are you talking about the chicane that we've just gone through there, where we saw someone go for a dive bomb? To answer your question, though, I'm not sure if you can get through there with both parties finishing that safely. I'm really not sure.
Yeah, I believe Sebastian is talking about the battle between Scott and Franken.
Oh yeah, well, of course.
It would be difficult, but where there's a will, there's a way. They could have made it cleanly if they didn't touch.
I mean, yeah, that's
it's
right.
a bit obvious, but well.
Yeah, it's an obvious saying. If they don't touch, they go through cleanly. But you're very right, Miguel. I think that is basically how that corner sums up, is very close racing, and there's not a lot of room. Maybe there is a potential there, but you do have to keep it away from each other as much as possible. And when it's raining, very hard to do. And I think the problem was, of course, Scott just picked up dirt that compromised their braking, and that spelt the end of it. And yeah, Sebastian, they were talking about the Scott and Frank, and that does make a lot more sense. But yeah, I have to agree with you, Miguel. Probably not going to happen going into that corner. Definitely possible, but you do have to keep the cars apart.
Yeah, definitely. And we do have in the chat Rob Franken, who was involved in that incident, and he does say that it was unnecessary, but it was a very good battle up until then. I gotta agree, it was a very good battle to watch, and unnecessary. I'll hold my judgment. Every position that you can gain is necessary, but the contact was unfortunate for sure.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Is for Franken, absolutely unnecessary, that entire battle. For Scott, Scott had everything to lose and everything to fight for there. They needed to get through. They were trying to catch up with Gil, who'd got through a couple of corners earlier, and that's why I think Scott put in so much effort to get that overtake done. Of course, the incident was a shame. I don't think Scott did it intentionally, though. Obviously, we saw from this angle, it's not easy to see, had two wheels on the dirt, which meant that they couldn't brake, and I think that's most likely why it happened. So for Franken, that might have seemed unnecessary at the time, but absolutely not for Scott. As Brian goes off the track here, just shooting across the dirt, we'll have to rejoin safely. Looks like they've managed to do so, but Brian, have they slowed down coming out of this corner here?
Yeah, they have. They have given the place back to Jackson because, well, he gained it unfairly on it by cutting the corner, and he's also given it to Jackson, who was behind him. And that's
That's been the
curious.
warning.
Yeah, maybe Bryant, he just wants to, play it safe with the stewards and the post-race penalties. Show that he has given more than plenty of time back. And let's not forget Tom Bryant, he is in a different category to all these cars around him. And he is in the final podium place. I mean, what he doesn't want now is to be caught up by Ryan Gill, who is in 4th. And not that far back. It's not that far back.
Bryant had a very good weekend. Bryant has had a podium in race 1. They started in 3rd place as well, and it looks like, without jinxing them, gonna maybe be a podium here in race 2. There's quite a significant gap to Ryan Gill. Ryan Gill is 7 seconds behind Roche, who's a couple of seconds behind Bryant in himself. So Bryant's got a nice comfortable gap here, and as long as they don't do that too many times and score themselves a drive-through penalty, Bryant's looking for another podium finish this weekend, so Tom's going to be very happy with how the rain has played out in his favour here. Well, here's the fight between Schaefer and I believe that is Van der Horn behind. No, that is Schaefer having just made a move on Schultz there, so Schaefer's managed to get that done, still going to continue to climb. Remember that Robin Schaefer here in the 293 started this race down in 33rd, so they had a lot of climbing to do, and managing to get to 14th, that's a pretty good job. Schaefer having everything to fight for here, just needs to bring home as many points as possible to defend their lead in this championship. I'd say for the unfortunate start they had coming out of qualifying, has done a very good job so far this weekend.
Yes, he has done. We have Roberts leading silver class. Oh, is that Bryant? He goes a bit squirrely into Forest Elbow. And it seems like he's going to be fending off Dvorak into the last chicane.
I'll tell you what we've forgotten about. Which was exactly what we saw last week at Suzuka as well, and what we were saying we reckon was going to happen with these BMW M2 Cup cars is that these tyres do not last very long, especially with the lack of grip that these cars have anyway. They're very, very slidey cars, and these tyres, when they're sliding around, they're not in the right PSI because of the wet weather. The tyres are not going to last long. They drop off around that 30-minute mark, and that is what we're approaching here. I think in Tom Bryan, feeling that the most. We've seen in the past lap, slid basically around the entire track and is losing grip on a lot of the corners. And you can see a couple of the other cars as well have just been losing grip in a lot of weird places. It's always on the exit of corners that they haven't struggled on so far. I'm thinking, Miguel, these tyres starting to drop off, and with the weather getting wetter and wetter in the next 10 minutes, it's going to spell a problem for a lot of these drivers, I think.
Yeah, I think so too, and especially with Bryant, because he went off the track by quite a big margin, over the gravel, over those bumps. They have a very important effect on the tire pressures, is they will drop when you go off track. Especially with all those bumps, they will drop quite a bit. And one thing for the tire nerds that may know this from F1, but the wet tire compound, it's actually softer than the normal dry compound because of the weather conditions. It needs to be a little bit more grippy. So when you start sliding it and it starts to overheat, as Schaefer is, wow, that was ballsy. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that word, but that was ballsy.
God, someone else just went in the background there. I'm not sure who that was. It might have been Jackson, who we've seen has just recovered, but Schaefer went for a huge dive down the inside of, I think that was Roberts? Might have been Schultz there. It was Roberts, apparently, going into that corner. Absolutely brilliant move from Schaefer, but yeah, I agree, Miguel. Very, very ballsy move. No, Mawson's just spun out Byron on the head, and then, oh no, they're going to into the wall trying to recover as well. Not ideal for either of them. We're going to have a replay of this. It looks like Mawson has just caught the rear of Byron, and Byron is just not able to hold the brakes. Has smacked around the track there before coming to a stop on the right, but not an ideal situation for either of these cars. Mawson is going to wait for Byron to recover, but that's just going to hold up both of them so much there. not ideal. Well, here's Phil Roberts. They're trying to put some distance now on Schultz behind. They've just lost the place of Schaefer, so they've lost the only buffer they had between them for their AM split here. But I don't think it matters too much right now, Miguel, as there's still a 5-second gap that Schultz has to try and close. And I've got to say, Roberts has had some absolutely blistering pace this weekend, has looked incredible in the AM split, has just taken away both races very easily. Although Schultz has just knocked off 7/10 in that last lap alone. Is this the comeback story we're looking for? They've got 9 minutes to do it. Can Schultz catch up and overtake Roberts here?
I believe Schultz can do it. I do hope, because Roberts, he's been having a brilliant race so far. Race 1 he won his class, now race 2 he's leading it. It's a 4.5 second gap to Schultz, but we'll just have to see. 9 minutes to go. Maybe Schultz, with the lighter fuel loads, he'll be able to get the job done.
Oh, we'll see. I mean, we're waiting for the Schultz to update now. It's 4.4 still, so Schultz has stopped closing that gap. But I mean, we'll see. Schultz may be a lot quicker in the final sector. I've just heard from Christian, our broadcaster, as well, that Schultz actually has picked up quite a lot of damage. So maybe Schultz won't be able to close that gap. Now they have to worry about Tom Bryant from behind. But what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars between Schultz and Bryant. Don't think Schultz is overly worried. They will just continue with this damage. And Stoll is facing the wrong way. No, Stoll was just smacked into them. That was a 606 Van der Horn has just made contact with Phil Roberts, who has lost the lead of the AM split there. Was facing the wrong way on the track. I imagine spun out of their own accord just before the hill there and has been hit by Van der Horn. We're going to have a replay of what happened. It looks like they spun out. They've hit the wall and they're facing the wrong way. In the middle of the track here, you're going to see the 606 just collide with them. And Phil Roberts returns to the pit lane, forfeiting their second race win of the day. That is such a disappointing end for Phil Roberts. But for Schultz, who now has the biggest gap, I think, in AM history, will be very happy with how that just unfolded. And Miguel, I was telling you about this last week. There is a curse with those AM drivers. Whoever starts on pole does not finish the race. We thought it was gone across the last 3 races we've had. It has now struck again on Phil Roberts. Phil will return to the pits. Tom Bryant be promoted to second. Ryan Gill will be promoted onto that podium position.
Well, first off, I want to apologize to Phil Roberts, because whilst I wasn't involved, he may have jinxed it. The commentator's curse and all that. So, apologies on my behalf. But, well, Schultz, you still have 6 minutes to go. Well, just keep it on track, will ya? As Tom Bryant, he has now moved up to 2nd place in class. And still has Ryan Gill behind him, but it's about an 11-second gap, so quite a bit.
Ken Arnson in chat has just said, have Svensson and Byron in Discord listening. Byron has just said, she's pulling to the right, but I'll make it work. And I think that is just summing up how a lot of these drivers are probably feeling right now, is the fact that wet weather, most of them, let's be real, 70% of this grid has damage on that car right now, maybe even 90. Like, there's a lot of cars. I doubt anyone's completely damage-free. But they've all got a bit of damage. The tyres are wearing down. It's raining. These are not going to be easy cars to handle. We're coming into the final 6 minutes of the race. Mawson's looking to try and climb up through Byron here. We know Byron's having a couple of problems on the straights as well. We'll see if Mawson can take advantage of this. But I think Mawson's probably struggling himself. We've seen they've had a couple of crashes. Do they have what it takes coming into the second corner? They're just a bit too far behind to make a move. But it's been one of those races, Miguel, and I think it's only going to get more chaotic in this final 5 minutes. Everyone right now fighting with the car just to stay on the track.
Yes, and it's been a bad day for Mawson. He's had a good race 1, but this race 2, it's just not gone to plan. And he is trying to fight Bayron. He's trying to make the move, but I'm guessing Mawson also has the same amount of damage that Bayron has, if not more. I know Mawson. I've raced with him a couple times. He is a very, very quick driver, but seems to be struggling to pass Bayron, who is in the M class.
I hear
as he
Mawson.
goes for the
Oh no!
move and he makes it stick as they go into sunset. Or
Wow.
skyline, apologies.
Well, I hear Mawson's thing is drive and just hope everyone else fails. That was what he told me. We sat there together. We were having a nice commentary back in, I think it was Laguna Seca. No, it can't have been Laguna. It must have been Silverstone, the race before. But Mawson said to me, he was like, my tactic for all of these races is drive and just hope everyone else has an incident, and then I'll pick up the pieces. And well, it's not gone that way for him. Currently, he's been the one trying to just fight his way back up because he's been in a couple of accidents so far. So Ryan's just trying his best now to pick up as many points as possible. Well, here's the big fight in the mid-pack, which is still going. We've had this huge fight going on. These cars, Rosu, Schaefer, Kalatayud, Schultz, they're split up a little bit. Like, there's a couple of seconds between each of them. But for the most part, they've been in this order now for the last 10 minutes, and it's just the gaps are varying now as they try. There's a lot of cars on track, but you know it's trying to find room. And with so much wet weather, with so much accidents happening around as well, you need room. We've seen what happens if you don't have room. Phil Roberts has just experienced it. Right now, if I'm one of these drivers, Miguel, I'm trying to find as much space as possible. I'm not even worrying about trying to climb anymore. Find space before the final 3 minutes and just make it to the end with whatever points you've got.
Exactly. 3 minutes ago, you just want to make it to the end. We have the leader going down the Conrad Straight. This might be the final lap that we're going into, possibly, with
No, we'll
3
have a
minutes
second.
left. Willie? Okay. Yeah, it will be close. I mean, the lap time here is around 2 minutes 30-ish, even in race conditions. We'll just have to see. We'll just have to see.
That's a good point. It's a very long lap time here, isn't it? It's about, you said 2 minutes 30. Yeah, you might be right. This might be the last lap. It's going to be very close. The Chief's about to come across the line now. And you know what, Miguel? You might be right. This might be the final lap. If I'm Machuska, I'm extending this lap as much as possible. I'm making this the final lap.
Oh, definitely. With 40 minutes of this, it's you just want it to end. As we see for 10th place, Rosso and Schaefer, or apologies, Rosso and Svensson, they are fighting each other. Who's that in the background? Is that Carlos?
That wasn't Schaefer, that wasn't Carlos. I've got no idea who that was that just appeared out of nowhere there. I think Carlos is in a yellow car. That was green, wasn't it?
Yes, that was the number 28 of Simmons. He is down in 27th and a lap down.
Okay.
So, interesting incident, as we still see Rosu trying to find his way past Svensson, as he appears to have sent it down into turn 1. Oh, a little bit of contact between them. Who will come out on top, though?
It's a drag race to the second corner.
Seems to be Rosu. He's got to drive down as Schaefer is coming in. He's pushing Rosu out of the way into turn 2. Oh, and this is just what Schaefer needs.
Miguel, these cars were neck and neck coming out of turn 1. That was the pink and the orange car there. Was that Rosu and Carlos? Was it Rosu and Carlos? Or was it Rosu and Svensson? Rosu and Svensson, neck and neck coming out of turn 1. Schaefer comes in and just goes, move! And shunts Rosu as far up the straight as possible. I think basically Rosu's acceleration there was Schaefer. I don't think Rosu had any actual manual acceleration in that at all, but well, Schaefer's now cleared Svensson. They're going to look to try and clear Rose as well. This will be a top 10 finish for the 293 after starting second to last. Schaefer has had an absolutely phenomenal recovery drive here as they're looking to try and clear Rosu, who they did aid on the straight, will definitely not be helping them the next time they come around. But do they have time to do it? Is this the last lap?
This might just be the last lap. Wolf Matuszka, he might just extend it so it is so. As Schaefer, he is just riding the bumper of Rosu, and Rosie, he wasn't looking very stable over the mountain. As Wolf Matuszka, he is coming across the line.
Hey.
And no, there is one more lap.
No!
There is one more lap. Wolf Matuszka, he calculated it wrong. just like he did in Suzuka. Maybe he thought that the finish line was further up ahead, and now we have another lap for
what would be
this
brilliant?
race.
You
We'll
know,
just have to see if people still have fuel
yeah, I was gonna
to
say.
finish.
It would be so brilliant if Wolf does not have the fuel to make this lap. I mean, I'm sure he does. He's absolutely taken that into account after last week. But could you imagine if Wolf there's just miscalculated that and doesn't have fuel? That being said, I doubt that is the case. Wolf has probably taken that into account and made sure of it. But Wolf Machuska, being the king of chaos, has opted in to doing a final lap here at Bathurst, despite having a 9-second lead to play with. I mean, he could have stopped on the line for 5 seconds just to be safe. Wolf wants to do the victory lap around Bathurst to secure his victory. Just got to hope he does not crash now, because Lawrence will absolutely take that if they can. But I tell you what, Schaefer now will be taking the opportunity to try and get through Rosu ahead. They're coming up into the second corner. Does Schaefer have what it takes to go for a move here? Will not go for the dive bomb, much to Christian's disappointment, I imagine. But it looks like Rosu may have messed up the exit of turn 2 here. Can Schaefer maybe power through around the outside? They're going to have to do it through this uphill section where we've seen a couple of fights happen, but they've definitely not been safe fights up until this point. It looks like Rosu's all over the track, going right to the outside of each of these corners. Schaefer's kept a lot tighter of a line, having the better exits, but for now, Rosu will continue to... Was that a car on the right there? Rosu continues to defend. There's a car on the right-hand side of the hill going up there. It's the number 1 car just parked on the right. But Schaefer going for a move down the outside of Rosu. We've seen one incident on this corner already. It looks like Schaefer and Rosu, though, will keep apart. Rosu gives the space. He's going to look for an answer as they come into the downhill section here, but Schaefer will plant it right in the middle of the track and will not give Rosu a chance to answer back. Schaefer making the safe move happen. So to answer your question, Sebastian, from earlier, yes, that move is possible. Yes, you can do it safely. Schaefer has shown us how it's done on the final lap here, as Wolf Machuska is going to come across the line in first place. Finally, with the finish they have been looking for since the start of this championship. Martin Lawrence going to come across in second, will pick up a lot of dirt on the outside there. And Marco Ripper in the 666 has had an absolutely phenomenal weekend here, has had a first place and a third place. That will put them up in the standings. Harman will come across the line in 4th, and looks like Pedro Marks will be securing 5th. Well, you've got Harley Chamberlain behind. They'll be securing first place for the silver split, as long as they can keep it through this final straight. Quizma as well be holding on to 2nd place, and Valentin Moliet, you can see coming across the line now, will round out the podium for silver. We're going to watch the rest of the drivers come through now. It looks like Schultz will have it down for the win in AM2. Tom Bryant maybe, well, they probably will hold on to 2nd place, and Ryan Gill will take the podium for the AM. We'll just watch them come across the line now to make sure, because you can never rule out a final corner spin, but it looks like Schultz has now taken first place. What a race, Miguel, and what a finish from some of these drivers. I don't think Daly's done. Daly looks like they're going to try and make a move on Atta here.
Yes, and they are in different classes. This is Daly's place to lose, but they are fighting for it.
Oh.
And it seems like Daly, he's gonna play it safe, and he's gonna have the cutback. Gonna be a race down the finish line, and it seems like Daly just loses it. Atta gets 20th.
Wow. That was a close finish on those two. Of course, they are in completely different splits, but we'll just be happy to be fighting across the line. Here comes Byron. We know they've been struggling with the car for the last 10 minutes or so. Well, they've managed to finish this race and not in a bad position either. That will be, I believe, 6 in their cars. I mean, Mawson has just messed up the final corner and will crash right in front of the start-finish line. It has not been Mawson's race today. This race too just has not gone his way in the slightest. Gonna make a bit of a show there on the final line. We've got a couple more cars they're gonna return to the finish line now. Vonja gonna come across. I believe there's one more car after Vonja as well. I don't think Bart's finished the race yet. Bart has had absolutely horrific race, but that is the end of race 2, everybody. We've had a very chaotic finish here. Very chaotic race here, I'm going to say. Both races, but Wolf Machushka will bring home first place here in race 2. Martin Lawrence with fastest lap will come in second, and Ripper will be in third. Heilman in fourth. Marks will come fifth. Chamberlain sixth. Queensman in seventh. Moliette in eighth. Schaefer will bring home an absolutely phenomenal recovery drive from second to last up until ninth. And they will be in the top 9 there. That is the end of race 2, everybody. And Miguel, today has been a blast. I'm sure you can tell. I am so happy and I'm so amped up now to see what's going to happen next week at Spa.
Yes, this race, this weekend, it has turned the leaderboards upside down. You have Ripper, who scored his first win in this series so far, is with a brilliant drive in race 1, and he's got a third place in race 2. That's a very good point. Might even put Martin Lawrence and Wolf Matuszka into danger because of their race 1 finishing positions. And it's just congratulations to Ripper. The first win, it's something to be celebrated, could be emotional, and maybe it's a dream come true to him.
Be popping out the champagne tonight for certain for Ripper. There's had an absolutely phenomenal couple of races. Came first place and then third place in the second race. Rex in chat said, Days KD, this race is phenomenal too. Yeah, I will admit we've seen a couple of things from Daly. I'm sure Daly might be having a bit of a march down to the steward's office and a little bit of a word with him there after those couple of races, but we'll see what the stewards think. I certainly would not want to be a steward after this weekend. Well, it's the end of the race. We're going to talk about our partners now. In a lot more depth than we did before too. We have racedepartment.com. They are your source of sim racing news and mods. AK Informatica, they provide our server solutions. Driver 61, you can get 25% off your driver coaching by using our discount code. The link is in the description. You can redeem it by going to driver61.com, and they can massively improve your track time. So if you want to get involved in these sorts of races and you want to be competitive, absolutely take advantage of that code. Fanatec, they are your one-stop shop for the best in racing equipment. I'm sure everyone has heard of Fanatec. They are a big name. You can use our affiliate link. It's in the description and it won't cost you anything. Helps us out with server costs and you can get some of the best equipment on the sim racing market. And then simracing.gp. If you want action like you have just seen today, if you don't want to be in those public lobbies anymore, you can join simracing.gp. It is completely free and it is quality community-based sim racing content. They're running races constantly throughout the day, so I highly recommend you go and join those. Well, Miguel, we're about to wrap up in a minute, but before we go, I just want to get your opinion on how today has gone. Personally, I've had a load of fun. Spa is coming next week. That'll be round 3 of this championship, but we are 2 races into it now, Miguel, and well, it has certainly not been predictable at all. We have had some absolutely brilliant fights and some really weird podiums.
Oh, definitely. For a series that has just started, this is just the second round. We've had so much action all throughout the field, in AM, in Silver, in Pro. Battles all from top to bottom. It has been so much fun to commentate on this and to see it here with you. It's just amazing, and I cannot wait for Spa.
Yeah, Spa is going to be absolutely brilliant. If you can't wait for Spa either, then you'll have to join us next week. It's Thursday, the 28th of April. It will be at 7 o'clock, same time as today. We'll be at Spa. So if you don't want to miss out on that, make sure you hit the bell icon so you get notifications when we're going live. And if you've enjoyed this stream, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as well. We stream daily races at the moment. I should probably actually mention, I don't think I did last week, should probably mention some of the other championships that we have going on right now. So I'm going to quickly bring up that list. Of course, tomorrow you'll be joined with the Friday GT3 Championship. Actually, I don't think that is tomorrow. I think we're currently on the season break for that. So ignore everything I am saying for the next few seconds as I just try and compose myself here. Right, we will not be back tomorrow. There is a break on the GT3 Championship. The Friday GT3 will be starting again on May the 6th. That'll be with Jesse Lee. He'll be conducting you through the Friday Championship. Night Owl, though, will be back. That is on April the 23rd. That is with Stewie, Jesse and Ted. They will be directing you through the night championship. They are currently on season 9. The Monday Challenge Cup, that is on April the 25th, so that's next Monday. Ryan Mawson, Ryan Gill and Dalton, they'll be joining you for that and directing you through. And then the final series for the Wednesday Diamond Drive Cup final race, April 27th. Do not miss out on that. That has been an absolutely exciting series and they have been racing down to the nail. That is Jake, Jesse and Nate will be delivering that to you. And then we'll be back next Thursday with Spa. Thank you so much for everyone joining us today. I've had a brilliant day. I'm sure you have too. It's been absolutely phenomenal racing. And if you want to find out where those standings are next week, well, you're going to have to see as you join us next week, round 3 at Spa. We'll see you all soon. Have a good night, everybody. See you next week.